Chilling tales for dark nights.
Want to make sure you never miss a Chilling Tales for Dark Nights video again? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to turn on notifications.
It's time to turn off the lights and turn on the dark.
Chilling tales for dark nights.
Good evening, listener. You're listening to Chilling Tales for Dark Nights. On tonight's edition, we invite you to leave behind your safe reality and descend with us into the frightening depths of the most terrifying imaginations. With 2 audio adaptations of frightening fiction about sinister stories and uninvited entities. I'm your host, Paul J. McSorley, and tonight I'll be your guide as we traverse the dimly lit corridors of your darkest dreams. I also wanted to take another moment to thank you all for your donations. We met our goal, but still really need your help. Every continued share, donation, and comment of support helps. Let's keep building this together. A lot of listeners have inquired as to what this fundraiser is for, and I'm happy to tell you there is a breakdown and allocation description on our GoFundMe page. Joining us tonight to help bring to life the frightening fiction of Riekki and Bill Dorsch is myself, Paul J. McSorley, Heather Thomas, Danielle Hewitt, Geoff Sturtevant, and Horror Hill host Erik Peabody. Now get your ticket ready, take your seat in our theater of the minds and brace yourself. It's time to turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Our first tale this evening is written by Riekki and performed by Heather Thomas, Paul J. McSorley, Danielle Hewitt, Geoff Sturtevant, and Horror Hill host Erik Peabody. In it, a father shares a strange story about a boy, a girl, and the mine on the outskirts of town. As the story unfolds, unsettling truths emerge in the darkness below. And now, without further ado, I present to you Stinkdamp. There was a mine on the outskirts of Helsinki where the boys would take the girls.
And?
And what?
What would they do?
Well, what do you think?
You mean have sex?
Sure.
Who would?
What do you mean, who would?
Do you mean the boys would have sex with the girls?
Sometimes.
Why are you telling me this?
It's a story.
That's not a story. There's no story to that story.
I'm not done.
I don't know if I want to hear this story.
Why?
Because I don't like it.
You don't know it.
I know it so far.
And?
And I don't like it.
Why?
Because it's boys having sex with girls, not mutual. It sounds to me like something is off. Something's wrong.
What?
Well, did the boys work in the mines?
Yes.
And did the girls work in the mines?
No.
So then you're saying these boys would take the girls down into the mines, which the girls knew nothing about, but the boys would know intimately because they worked there. Every day.
Yes, back then, every day. 7 days a week sometimes. Often. And the girls would never be in the mines.
Well, except when the boys took them.
So they were at an advantage.
How so?
I just imagine how frightening that would be. How terrifying. I know the mine in Palmer, and every time we drive by it, it looks haunted to me. Me and Shelley went into the caving grounds in Naugany.
When?
Plenty of times.
When?
A lot of times.
You've gone into the caving grounds a lot of times.
That's not what I'm talking about right now.
You shouldn't be back there.
I'm trying to make a point.
But you shouldn't be back there. It's caving grounds, meaning the ground can cave in at any moment.
Can I finish what I was saying?
And if the ground caves in, you can plummet to your death.
It's safe.
It's not safe. It's exceptionally not safe.
Why do you have no concern about a girl being led into a mine that she doesn't know when I'm talking about two girls who know the caving grounds exceptionally well?
I'm just wanting you to be safe.
I'm going to finish what I was saying, which was that we were in the caving grounds and we did see one spot where the ground had caved in.
And I hope you didn't walk over it.
Well, you're not going to like this then, because we did.
You could have fallen in.
We had a rope.
A rope?
Shelley tied it around her and around me so that I could walk up to the edge.
And if you'd fallen in, you'd have pulled Shelley in with you. Both of you would be dead.
She's strong. She would have pulled me back up.
Oh, God. Now you're going to make me worry.
You don't have to, because I don't want to see it again. Because when I got to the edge, I looked down and that darkness went on forever. To infinity. It was like seeing hell and realizing how empty it is. How much nothing there is. I always thought of hell as a cross between Dante and a Slayer album cover.
I don't know what that is.
With goats and red flames and pitchforks and just chaos and smoke. But I realized maybe hell is just emptiness, nothingness. I read an article online about a torture technique where they put you in a completely white room with absolutely nothing in it, and how the lack of sound, of any other color, of anything really drives the person mad. I thought maybe hell is like that.
Okay. So I imagine these boys leading these girls to the hole that is the start to every mine, where you enter and the shadows start surrounding you. And you realize you have put all of your faith into this boy you don't even know.
Can I tell you the story?
Okay.
Well, I want you to know I took your mother there. Once.
That's disgusting.
Nothing happened. We kissed. We never went inside. We were right in front of the mine, the entry, and your mother wouldn't go in, and I asked if I could kiss her, and she said, and this is so her, but she said, "You don't ask for something like that." And I thought she meant that I just had to take her in my arms, but I went to hug her, and she put me in a headlock so that I couldn't breathe, and I remember I was staring into the darkness of the mine, and my mind went totally blank. She actually caused me to pass out, which is not safe to do. You can cause someone to have a seizure doing that. But when I came to, she was hovering over me and she kissed me, lying on the ground. It was the strangest, most romantic moment of my life.
Mom's weird.
She's wonderful.
And you're weird.
I'm also pretty wonderful sometimes too.
Not now.
What do you mean?
This is the weirdest story ever. You shouldn't be telling it to your daughter.
Why not?
Because you should be telling me normal stories.
Like what?
Like Cinderella?
Do you know when you were little, really little, I used to read you Stephen King?
You did not.
You loved it.
I did?
You did. You'd sleep better. Your mother said nothing will ever scare her.
That's not true.
It kind of is.
Except now. Your story is scaring me.
I haven't even started it.
Then start the story.
Well, what would happen, of course, as you can imagine, is what you said. It wasn't exactly fair. All these girls getting asked to go to the mine, which sounds exciting because it is.
Have you ever been in the mines?
Briefly.
When?
Well, you know our whole family has worked in the mines.
Not you.
No.
And none of the women.
Yes, but your uncle and brother and grandfather.
I know.
But let me finish. All these girls would get asked into the mines, and the boys would take them in and tease them. Of course, sometimes just having fun. But your mother told me a story.
A different story?
No, the same one I'm going to tell you.
Well, tell it already.
Well, there was a kid in the town in Avakopunki. That's the name of the town. And the kid's name was Jay, just the letter. He had a longer name than that, but he went by Jay, and Jay would take girls down to the mines a lot. And there were rumors about him that were not good. And Jay had a little brother named, as you can imagine, Kay. And Jay kept telling his brother Kay to take a girl down to the mines, but Kay didn't want to. And also girls didn't want to go with Kay because of all the bad rumors about what his older brother Jay was doing when he'd take them there. So Jay started telling Kay that there was this one girl, Anna, who was real easy to take down to the mines, that she would go with just about anyone, and that she'd even gone with Jay, and so he pushed his little brother to ask her, and she said yes.
I feel like I'm about to get angry.
Let me finish. So Kay was shy, but his brother told him what to do, not to go too deep into the mine because Kay was too young to work there yet, telling him not to go downwards at all, that it was dangerous to go downwards, that's how you'd get lost, but instead to just go left or right, to stay at the main level, that it would be safe, for him at least, that all he had to do was take Anna a little ways into the mine, a quick left, 2 rights, and as the darkness kicked in, the adrenaline would get going and he could give her a dare to take a piece of her clothing off. Just one. And then once she did one, it'd be easy to get her to do a second one. That there'd be all that darkness, just the light from his flashlight, and there'd be a thrill for her too, Kay's brother said. And so Kay's brother walked with Anna to the mine.
This is a story Mom told you?
Yes. And this was Finland, and it was June, so it was cool because Finland is never warm at night, and even June in Finland feels like October here.
It was night?
Dusk. And Kay took her into the mine and followed the directions his older brother told him, a spot in the mine where he had hidden condoms.
Yuck.
But the thing is that Anna had been to the mine countless times, and so she pulled Kay into a different direction, one that she knew. And Kay followed, and they went down and down and down and down. And Kay told her that maybe they shouldn't go so deep into the mine, and Anna told Kay that he was probably getting a little hot from all the climbing downward, and he said he wanted to go back, and she said that no, he was probably a little bit hot and should take his shirt off, and Kay said it was cold, and she said, no, it's hot in the mines, and she told him to take his shirt off, and he said they should head back, and she said to take his shirt off, and he started climbing back upwards, and she let him until he got to the top platform, and he looked to his left and looked to his right, and he didn't know which way to go, and he looked down and Anna wasn't there. Kay shined the flashlight around, but there was nothing. Kay walked to the right, paused, looked around, then walked to the left. He had no idea where to go. There were no signs, no hints, no suggestions of which direction led to anything. Kay yelled for Anna, but he was only met with silence. He listened. He could hear a soft wind. How was there wind in a mine? Anna! Anna, please, if you're there! Anna! Kay started to cry.
Take off your shirt.
Anna? Anna, please.
Take off your shirt. It's hot. Go to the right.
Kay shined the flashlight around the mine. He only saw wooden planks, dirt, soot, metal. He realized how bad the air was. It was a tiny bit hard to breathe, more work than in the fresh air, as if his lungs were operating at a different gear shift. Kay walked to the right.
What do I do now?
It felt like a graveyard silence, a deeper silence than in the real world. Was he in a fake world now?
Your belt.
Anna?
Kay listened. He shined the flashlight around. He wanted to say, "You're scaring me," but it was too obvious. Of course she was. It would be like saying, "We're in a mine right now."
It's hot. Take your belt off.
Kay took his belt off.
Climb.
Kay shined the flashlight around, seeing the handholds for the makeshift ladder etched into the side of the mine's walls. Kay climbed upwards, belt, shirt, and flashlight in hand. Kay got to the top and looked to the left and right. He didn't know where to go. He listened for Anna's climbing, shined the light down the ladder he had just come up on. Nothing was there. He could hear a creaking. Was it the wood? Were mines safe? Of course not. The weight of dozens, maybe hundreds of feet above them, weighing down. How many bodies had been buried while working, immediately suffocated? It was like being inside of a maze of graves. How quick and easily all of this could become a burial.
Your shoes.
No!
Kay waited, thinking. He could just start making his own decisions, guessing, just go with his instincts. But his instincts could lead him deeper into the labyrinth, something where he had never come out. It used to be that the mine would be operating 7 days a week, even holidays. His father was never home. His grandfather never home until he died. Lung cancer. Quick. It seemed to take just days after the diagnosis. So fast. But the signs had been there, so obvious. His grandfather's growing fatigue, weight loss, wheezing. He realized what he was smelling now had been caked deep into his grandfather's lungs. He always saw the mine as hell. Why would they take girls to hell? Why did he follow in his brother's footsteps? But he had done nothing wrong. Just took her here. He wasn't going to do anything. Mostly not anything.
It's hot. Take your shoes off.
How was she able to whisper like she was right next to his ear when she was nowhere to be seen? The mine echoed. The voice seemed to come from everywhere. It did come from everywhere. Kay wondered if she was real. He knew tales of Finnish giants, Jatuli, Jatuni, Methilis, and Methilivanvaki, the names themselves sounding like magical incantations, and how they would sleep in the muck of riverbanks and get up at night to roam the land and suddenly appear, blocking the sky. He would see hills when he was younger and be convinced it was a giant's stomach, that it would stand suddenly, this hill rising, hovering above him, and the full body of some devilish giant standing over him. He would feel it was about to happen. Sure it would, the rising of giants, and he would start running home, furiously, falling, slipping, cutting his knee or elbow or both, and just keep running home, bloody. He wanted to run now, but there was nowhere to run to.
Your shoes. It's hot.
It felt cooler than normal. Does he get colder the deeper you go into the earth, or hotter? He imagined the center of the earth was hell when he was little. He worried when his father and grandfather and brother would go deep into the mine that they were toying with getting closer to hell. He worried about them. Maybe he'd been doing it now, that he was closer to hell right now. In Finland, all of the churches seemed to be up on hills, on top of the giant stomach of hills, high above the village, so that it seemed like the steeples were aching and they're reaching for the heavens. Heaven was in the sky. Hell was in the core of the earth below. He should have taken Anna to a chapel's roof. They could have climbed it and been looking at stars. He didn't want to have sex with her, just a kiss. Possibly sex also. Maybe.
Shoes,
said the voice. The shh felt like she was telling him to quiet his mind. His mind was racing, like a war was happening in there. Was he going to die? Did he deserve it? Was he paying for his brother? Was she going to seduce him, have sex with him, put him in a chokehold and kiss him? Was it all going to be based on his intent? Was she a witch? When he was young, even younger, his brother told him that all women are witches. Such an odd thing to say. And Kay believed him for a while, terrified of his second-grade teacher who he was sure would boil him and eat him if he ever got an F. Even terrified of his very own mother, worried that nighttime happened only because witches steal the sun at night, worried his mother worked with them, connived with them to capture the sun and cast the world in darkness for such long, long hours of eternal Finnish winter nights.
Shoes,
Whispered the voice. The voice was changing, like it was barely human, like it was just as much ghost as banshee as human. Kay took his shoes off. He just left them with the shirt and belt on the damp floor, but not the flashlight. He clutched the flashlight close to him.
left.
Whispered the voice. It did sound like a witch, the voice. A skeletal witch. A skeletal demonic witch. A bit. A touch. Was she doing that on purpose now? Each time she sounded more threatening. At first she was playful, maybe seductive, but now there were hints of witchcraft in every syllable.
Socks.
He took them off.
Climb.
He did. He got to the top. Kay waited.
Pants.
Kay shined the flashlight around. Was her voice only in his mind? The smell grew. Stinkdamp. That was the word his brother used, his father used, his grandfather used, his great-grandfather used. It was a smell like eggs rotting. He had never smelled it before, never wanted to smell it ever again.
Your pants.
No.
Said Kay and coughed. Kay's flashlight went out. The dark wasn't the dark of the regular world. There were no stars down here. No moon tucked behind clouds, the moon glow fighting its way to the earth. In the mine, it was an emptiness that only the dead know. Kay swatted at the flashlight and it came back on. He reached into his pocket and took out matches.
That smell is hydrogen sulfide. Extremely flammable. One match, and you'll be dead.
We'll both be dead.
You'll be dead. Your pants. You're almost free. You're so close.
He could hear water dripping, faintly. The ground was wet. He would freeze to death if he spent the night in here. The Stinkdamp brutal. Who would bring a girl to a place like this?
Who would bring a girl to a place like this?
She could read his thoughts. Kay slipped his pants off. He was only in his underwear. So vulnerable. A flashlight could be seen bobbing up and down from the tunnel behind him to the right. It was accompanied by a soft whistling, the type of whistling you do in graveyards. The flashlight landed on Kay's near-naked body. The laugh behind the flashlight was his older brother.
Look at you.
How do we get out?
Where is she?
How do we get out?
Calm down. Straight that way, where I just came from.
Kay sprinted in that direction, not looking back, the flashlight fading quickly into the distance and the footsteps echoing, fading, then gone.
Where the hell?
Said Jay and coughed. He started to walk in the direction his brother had just run.
Here.
Anna?
Down here.
Anna!
I'm down here.
Anna, is that you?
I'm down here.
Kay shined the light down the hole.
I've never been down that way before. Come up here.
I'm down here. Don't worry. It's safe.
I hope you enjoyed Stinkdamp, as written by Riekki and performed by Heather Thomas, Paul J. McSorley, Danielle Hewitt, Geoff Sturtevant, and Horror Hill host Erik Peabody. Our second tale of the evening is written by Bill Dorsch and performed by Paul J. McSorley. A settler's isolated life in 1796 takes a dark turn when mysterious noises in the night lead to a terrifying encounter. His only ally, a stranger named Cora, holds a chilling secret. Now, without further ado, I present to you The Hunger and the Night. 8th of June, in the year of our Lord 1796. The summer has been dreadful. It has been so hot and dry that none of the crops are prospering. It will be a very meager harvest this year. This does not bode well for the winter, and I will need to begin planning an alternate means of food if I intend to remain. 19th of June, in the year of our Lord 1796. The heat has refused to weaken. Water becomes as valuable as the coin piled on my nightstand. Perhaps more so, even as money will provide me no benefit here in the wilderness. Not so much as a single trader has passed through. I must routinely gather wild berries in order to have food on a regular basis. By grace of our Lord, the nearby stream flows plentifully. 22nd of June, in the year of our Lord 1796. My stomach has begun to yearn for the taste of meat. I cannot be sure exactly how long it has been, but several weeks have passed without so much as hare or deer. Even the fish in the stream prove elusive. I dare not attempt to best the local bear population. Yet. Ash cakes of flour made from the little wheat I am able to harvest along with some berries are the usual supper as of late. 2nd of July, in the year of our Lord 1796. Our Lord has provided me with a miracle. As I was repairing a breach in my roof this afternoon, I was greeted by a young woman, perhaps 20 years of age, who introduced herself as Cora. It seems she too lives out here in the wilderness. She explained that she was out in the woods attempting to find some mushrooms to cook when she noticed my home. She lives a couple miles away and told me there are several good places to hunt small game near her. She encouraged me to try my luck there when I mentioned the slim hunting prospects around the house. I offered her some wheat, which she accepted, and some berries, which she respectfully declined, as she is not keen on their flavor. Secretly, I am happy that she did, as my supplies are low, and I was merely offering these to her as a courtesy for the hunting tip. In any event, I am grateful that there is another person nearby and hope for a proper meal in my near future. 3rd of July, in the year of our Lord 1796. Cora did not disappoint. Her hunting location worked splendidly. I set a series of snares to leave overnight, and when I returned, 2 of them had rewarded me with a bounty of rabbit. The journey back to the cabin was so joyous, I, at one point, actually caught myself skipping like a schoolchild. Last night and today's meals were so delicious that I dare say I would have felt confident serving them to royalty. After such a spell without meat, perhaps that is simply my overactive joy speaking. Nonetheless, they were the tastiest morsels I had been given the pleasure of eating in the longest of times. I am optimistic that this food source may serve me well. I am indebted to Cora for the tip, and to our Lord for sending her to my home to deliver it. 7th of July, in the year of our Lord 1796. Last evening proved quite tense. My bounty of rabbit depleted, I had just finished my evening meal of bread and berries. As I had laid down for the night and began to drift off to sleep, I was interrupted by a distant noise. An odd noise this was. One I had never heard out here before. It was high-pitched and almost sounded like laughing. That is the best way I can think to describe it. A cackling laugh that managed to cut through the songs of the night insects, though muted enough to convey its origin as distant. I know not exactly how long I was kept awake by the sound, though the moon had begun its descent for the night when I last took notice. 23rd of July, in the year of our Lord 1796. Praise be to our Lord, the rains have returned. The ground swallows the elixir as quickly as it can be delivered from the heavily gray clouds above. It is too late for my wheat, but perhaps the berries can rebound and once again offer bounty. By our Lord's grace, I have been blessed to have been able to trap enough game to sufficiently feed myself when grain and fruit have been scarce. I am in debt to Cora for being so gracious in sharing the location of the grounds which have hosted my efforts. I wish to offer recompense, but my attempts to locate her have gone in vain. I have attempted to greet her at her home and in the surrounding areas to no avail. Her home shows signs of upkeep, so I am not worried that anything foul has occurred. I simply must be in the wrong places at the wrong times. 2nd of August, in the year of our Lord 1796. The nights have proven a cursed bane, offering me little rest. The vexing cackle has returned, gradually drawing closer to my home. It is now accompanied by a guttural scraping that sounds as if great patches of ground are being dragged. My skin trembles at the sound. The unholy origin that undoubtedly produces such an infernal din mocks me with its ever-closing proximity. Its sound is that between human and creature, unnatural and menacing. I have taken to bringing my pitchfork and reap hook bedside. I know deep down that these will likely be humorously ineffective against a supernatural being. Should that be what I am tormented by, and should it choose to act on its threatening behavior, there will be little hope. 7th of August, in the year of our Lord 1796. The night visitor's torments have become as certain as the sunrise. Each of the last 5 nights I have endured its torturous luring. I am paralyzed by its attempts to enter my home, each night staging a different route in its quest to gain access to me. I clutch my Bible close to me along with my weaponry, begging our Lord to intervene and chase this intruder from my land and my life. Each petition is met with apathy, and the creature continues its crusade until I am mercifully spared by the rising sun. I become lightheaded and my body feels weak as I cower. Worse still, food remains scarce. My hunting has proven comically inadequate, and my only salvation is the berries that have, thankfully, continued to grow. 11th of August, in the year of our Lord 1796. I have reached my wit's end. My nightly scourge has robbed me of almost all slumber, and my days have become increasingly less productive. My ability to perform even menial tasks is met with extreme fatigue, exacerbated by the decreasing food I am able to gather with my lack of fortitude. I have resorted to only trapping once this past week, which yielded no reward. My reserve of berries is the primary means of keeping myself fed. This routine cannot continue, yet I cannot afford to lower my guard when the moon is high, lest it finally be the night the evil terrorizer achieves its goal of entry to my home. 12th of August, in the year of our Lord 1796. With every ounce of my remaining energy, I made my way back to Cora's home today. Miraculously, she was present and greeted me, first with gladness, then concern upon seeing my state. She immediately took me in and prepared a wondrous feast of deer and fresh bread. We discussed my situation, and she expressed pity, though had not heard nor experienced any of the phenomena inflicted upon me. She suggested perhaps I simply disregard it, reasoning that if the entity has not already been able to enter my home, that there may be some reason, that perhaps some type of protection is present around my home that prevents its success. I appreciated her attempt at easing my anxiety, but knew deep down that I would not be able to heed this advice. She graciously sent me on my way with a good portion of deer to help me keep my stomach full and my spirits a little higher. I do not deserve such a kind soul looking out for me, but I am ever grateful. 18th of August, in the year of our Lord 1796. The time to fight back has come. The deer kept me fed for a few days, but has since run out. I avoided returning to Cora's home for several days, not wanting to appear as a mere beggar, but finally resigned myself to a visit today. To my dismay, she was absent, and I was forced to return home with no camaraderie and, more selfishly, no meal. It will be berries for me this evening. 19th of August, in the year of our Lord, 1796. I have never been in battle. My contributions to society never involved military service. Last evening was the first time in my life I ever forced myself to show courage and bear arms. The terror arrived as promptly as ever, and I was prepared. I would rest that night, one way or the other. Mustering every remaining bit of bravado, I burst outside to meet that which had terrorized me for so long. When I met face to face with it, my knees locked and my throat became blocked. Before me floated what I can only describe as an unnaturally tall, waif, black-cloaked figure that was unlike any living being I had ever seen. A haze surrounded it as it drifted around my grounds, eyes black as the night sky and long stringy hair that appeared to waft around the air as if it were underwater rather than on land. My inability to move kept me vulnerable for what felt like minutes, as if I were an animal awaiting slaughter. The creature sized me up for an eternity before unleashing a deafening shriek. This sudden address provided me with an infusion of energy, allowing me once again to defend. I took up my stance, reap hook in hand, and waited for the evil being to make the first move. I did not have to wait long. It outstretched its arm, a terrifyingly long appendage, and charged. I ducked the attack and dug the reap hook into its stomach. A new shriek emitted, but this was one of pain. Realizing I was able to hurt the creature, I stood back up and faced it once more. From its wound, trails of black mist or smoke were exiting. It gathered itself and prepared another charge. This time, I aimed my hook at its shoulder, succeeding in removing its right arm at the top. Another shriek later, the creature turned its back to me and began to retreat. As I watched it re-enter the forest, I felt the remainder of my energy leave my body. I was barely able to make my way back to bed before I lost all consciousness. 20th of August, in the year of our Lord, 1796. I must return to Cora to warn her of what I went through last night. I fear the creature may return, but this time for a new victim. I do not believe that I vanquished it, and I worry that I have but angered it. I have seen its power. I've experienced its perseverance. If it were to focus on Cora in its return, I would be devastated for having unleashed its wrath upon her. 21st of August, in the year of our Lord, 1796. This will be my final entry. I am unable to properly articulate everything, but I will do my best to put the words to this day. My journey to Cora's was fraught with fear that she would not be home and I would be unable to warn her about my ordeal and the potential threat we now surely faced. My worry was assuaged when I heard her stirring. Quickly, however, a new alarm was raised when I heard a faint moan from inside. I immediately forced the door open and was met with a sight that stopped me cold. On the floor, writhing around, I saw Cora. One-armed, gash-stomached Cora. I hope you enjoyed The Hunger and the Night, as written by Bill Dorsch and performed by Paul J. McSorley. Well, friends, our weekly descent into the depths has just about come to a close. But before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining us tonight and remind you to take a moment to stop by our iTunes page and leave Chilling Tales for Dark Nights a 5-star review and a kind word. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you haven't already. Also, don't forget, we have our own book out. Since 2012, Chilling Tales for Dark Nights has been keeping people awake through the night with terrifying audio renditions of tales from the darkest minds modern memory has to offer. Now, in this first of 3 volumes, collected are 30 tales, never before available by some of the most prolific and talented authors of the online community, each one accompanied by a suitably grim illustration by David Romero. strange cats, body mutilations, demonic apartments, revenge from beyond the grave, and yes, even a man-eating monster or two. All of these and more beckon you further into the darkness. Turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Who needs sleep anyway? Check it out at Amazon today or by going to chillingbook.com. On to the shows. Longtime resident Otis Gyrie has his very own show here on our network, Scary Stories Told in the Dark, which you can hear every Sunday night. We also have Erik Peabody's Horror Hill, a podcast dedicated to some of our deeper and darker tales. We hope you check him out. And Drew Blood's Dark Tales airs Fridays, featuring some southern down-home horror. And don't forget to check out the Fear from the Heartland archives, featuring more than 120 episodes. Well, friends, our weekly descent into the depths has just about come to a close. But before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining us tonight, and remind you to take a moment to stop by our iTunes page and leave Chilling Tales for Dark Nights a 5-star review and a kind word. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can find an archive of our work going back to 2012. And consider signing up as a patron at our website, chillingtalesfordarknights.com, to show your support and get all of our content ad-free. I'm your host of the evening, Paul J. McSorley, and it's been a pleasure. Tune in again next week when we once again turn off the lights and turn on the dark. Sweet dreams, listener. Sweet dreams.
Chilling Tales for Dark